Hello, everyone. I'm Fozzie Orcam, and I'm here as always with my co-host Will. Will, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Cam. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and we have another full agenda today. We're gonna start off with the Cobra Kai season 6 announcement. Yeah, let me just get it right off the bat. I'm actually kind of annoyed by this, because there have been
Really?
several shows. Well, one that's really impacted me as of late. That delayed the season. It would air a few episodes and then have us wait 2 months. That show was Invincible, which is an animated show hugely popular on Amazon Prime Video. It's a superhero show. Gets fantastic reviews, and I'm a huge fan of it. But they aired the first half of the first season and then waited 2 months to release the second half, and the episodes were good, but a lot of the hype that I had going into the next few episodes was lost. It really was, because there was such a huge break in between. I mean, I'm still yet to see if that's gonna happen with Cobra Kai because I haven't seen the episodes yet, but I have a feeling it's gonna be like that again. I'm gonna be so amped going into the show. We're gonna get the first few episodes, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh, that was awesome! I can't wait." And then a few weeks are gonna go by, and then we're eventually gonna get to the second part, a release date, and I'm not gonna be as excited as I normally would be if I could just binge the show. Um, if anything, I'd want them to put the finale like a week back so people would have time to wait. But I just think this is kind of ridiculous, and I actually don't know what the reasoning behind that is. Do you have any ideas of what the reasoning there could be?
I think it's that the writers and actors strikes delayed the filming for the season, and I don't think they want the fans to have to wait like so much longer for the next season to come out. So that's why I think they're doing it this way instead of just releasing it all at once and kind of a three-part season. I think that has a really epic feel
It
to
could
it
be, yeah,
also.
especially
And I
because it's the
think
final
and I
season.
think the first two parts of it are gonna have cliffhanger endings where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to know what's gonna happen next.
Yeah.
But I think it's because of probably the writers and actors strike, and I think they're probably still in the midst of filming right now, and they probably didn't want to have to make their fans wait too much longer. That's my best guess.
Yeah, definitely a fair point there, but then again, Netflix has done this before, and this was before the strike for Stranger Things season 4. And they split up a bunch of the episodes. Um,
But
so
but for Stranger Things season four, if I remember correctly, part one was released in May and part two was released in July. So it was just a
yes,
couple months.
yeah,
It
it
wasn't
definitely wasn't that big of a break in between, but they still done it before, but just not to this extent, I guess. But either way, I'm happy to get an actual release date out now, so I don't have to just theorize about when we're gonna get the show. We got some new footage. Didn't really show anything. Nothing really worth talking about. We just see Daniel, Chosen, and Johnny. Some more footage of Kreese. Nothing of Terry Silver. Not sure how prominent he's going to be in this season. I think it's going to be back to basics and just have Kreese be the mastermind. But once again, we'll see once we get more trailers. Um, but overall, excited for the show. I mean, both of us are huge fans of the show here. We have been since day one of the podcast. It's been one of the most things I've enjoyed talking about the most on the podcast. So, yeah, I'm always excited when we get news about Karate Kid or Cobra Kai, especially because we both met cast members from the show. So yeah, it's super cool. Just wish they weren't spacing it out like that. Next, we have some Star Wars news here. Um, for a little show called The Acolyte. Loving it. It's basically a Star Wars murder mystery almost, it's looking like. Um, so, a new genre kind of for the Star Wars universe. Definitely looks interesting. Could either be really, really good or it could be really bad. I could see it going both ways. But I'm also not one of those people online who have been hating on the show just because there is a central woman, female character in the show, which we've stated this before. Wells is ridiculous. Um,
ridiculous.
but overall, my excitement's pretty high for the show. I mean, this might sound annoying, but I just wish there were more characters we could recognize from past Star Wars projects. I get they want to expand kind of the universe and explore things that we don't know, but a lot of people watch Star Wars to see stuff that they love. But who knows? I mean, a lot of people loved Andor, and we weren't huge fans of that show, so this could be like that. We'll see. Um, but based off the footage that I've seen, um, I'm pretty excited for Acolyte. What are your thoughts on the Acolyte trailer, Will?
Yeah, I got nothing bad to say about either of the trailers that they released. I thought they were both intriguing. I saw the re-release of the Phantom Menace on Friday, and
Yeah.
they had a scene from the Acolyte after the film, which was intriguing as well. I think the whole concept of this taking place 100 years before the prequels, or to be more specific, 100 years before the Phantom Menace, I feel like that's a really intriguing concept going that far back into the Star Wars time period, because this will be the farthest back Star Wars
Aside from the games,
has
yeah.
ever gone. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the games and the books have done, but purely focusing on screen, they've
Yeah.
never gone this far back. So that concept in and of itself is intriguing to me. And I totally hear what you're saying about there not being any characters that we recognize. And while my excitement for the show isn't as high because of that, I still acknowledge that they're probably trying to come up with new, fresh
Yeah.
things and new, fresh characters, and not just have the same old stuff all the
For
time.
sure.
So I applaud them for that, and I think as long as it's as good as these two trailers, I think the show will have no issue at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'll end up enjoying it. I think it'll be a bit more intense, maybe, than Andor was. Maybe not as mature as that show was. But, I mean, Star Wars content, either way, I'm going to be excited for. Because, once again, Star Wars has been one of the biggest parts of the Everything Podcast YouTube channel. And it's, again, one of my favorite things that we talk about on the channel. So, yeah, either way, I've been a Star Wars fan forever, so any Star Wars show is exciting, especially if it expands on some of the less touched on or less dove into Star Wars media. So it'll be cool to see how this eventually leads to the Clone Wars. So yeah, intriguing concept. We'll see how the show is. The trailers have been for me, but I mean, we'll see. Still an intriguing concept. All right, so now we have some big news, Will. And all right, I'm gonna do it again, Will. You know what I'm gonna do?
What's
I'm,
that?
I'm gonna get up. I never do this on the podcast. I'm
Oh
gonna
wow,
stand up.
I'm excited. I'm
So,
excited for this.
Will, do you want to kind of explain what's going on with Kendrick and Kendrick Lamar and Drake? Just explain that there's a beef going on.
Yeah, so you know more than me about it, and you listen more to their music than I do. So I'm gonna let you get into the specifics of this, because I know you've been looking into it more than I have. But all I will say is that I think it's pretty fair to say that one of the biggest headlines in not just pop culture, but probably just all news in general, is the feud between these two. It is all over the news. If you go on to any major news website, you're gonna see something about this. And I'm gonna let Cam take it from here.
Alrighty. So, as most of the people know on the podcast and as Will knows, I'm a huge fan of hip hop and just music in general.
Yeah.
But Kendrick Lamar, specifically, has been one of my favorite artists for a long time. As we can see here, we have the album Good Kid, Mad City on vinyl. And then if you'll see here, we have the album Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers on vinyl. A super fantastic and kind of underrated Kendrick Lamar album. So, I think that kind of explains which side I'm on, and even without bias, I'd still be on Kendrick's side, because he's absolutely obliterated Drake. And so, all right, let me start from the top. So, like about a month ago, maybe a little further back, there was an album by Future and Metro Boomin. Metro Boomin is a acclaimed producer, nominated for a Grammy for 2023. Made a great album last year called Heroes and Villains. And he's a producer, so he got all the best names in the hip hop industry on his album on different songs, and he curated a great album, made the beats for an awesome album. I enjoyed it a lot. I don't listen to him a crazy amount, but I listen to him enough. And then Future, who I also just recently started listening to, he's definitely not my favorite artist, but I can definitely respect what he does. I can respect that he's changed the game of hip hop and he's kind of been able to change up the genre in ways that other people haven't, and in ways that have inspired other people like Travis Scott. So I can respect that. And so he dropped an album with Metro Boomin, a collaboration, called "We Don't Trust You," and it was a pretty good album. I mean, I didn't love it, but there were a lot of really good songs on it. One of the songs being a song called "Like That," probably ended up being my first or second favorite song on the album. And in that song, oh boy, was I caught off guard, because when this album first released, when I was listening to it, the features, the people that were featured on the album, weren't listed on it. So I didn't know who was going to be in the song. And to my surprise, Kendrick Lamar shows up. And he disses Drake and another rapper who is regarded as one of the better rappers in the industry, and he disses the big three, and that's something that Drake created on this song "First Person Shooter," uh, and he talks about him, Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick Lamar being the big three. But clearly, based off the lyrics on the song "Like That" Kendrick said, he wasn't too big on him being a part of the big three, so he said, "No, it's just Big Me." That was one of the bars in the song. So that kind of just stirred the pot. That got things started. And he kind of made fun of Drake's music a little bit. But nothing too crazy. But obviously, Drake needed to drop a response, right? So a few weeks later, Drake drops a response called Push Ups. And Push Ups, a lot of surface level disses. Um, Nothing too crazy. I enjoyed the song when it came out. I don't really go back to it though. At that point, Drake was definitely in the lead just because he had a longer time span to diss Kendrick Lamar, whereas Kendrick Lamar had about 30 seconds because his was on a feature, and Drake's was an entire song that was just him. So we got some decent disses in there, some funny bars. Um, Basically, nothing too deep. Nothing. He didn't dive too deep into anything. He mentioned that he talked about how short Kendrick was, which is barely even a diss. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. That doesn't even count. But I'm getting biased again. um, so then Kendrick Lamar responds with the song called "Euphoria," and that was when Drake officially. I think that's just when he lost. I mean, Kendrick Lamar just bullied Drake.
Oh boy.
Oh man, it was brutal. I'd say if you
Do you
guys
feel like
haven't,
he went too far?
I think it gets worse after Euphoria gets released. So that song was tame compared to what's next, Will. And there were some serious allegations in the upcoming songs. Some serious, I'm not even joking. Some serious allegations brought up. So he releases that. Silence from Drake for a while. So then, randomly, about 9 a.m., Kendrick Lamar drops another song called 616 in LA, which is less of a diss and more of just like alluded to dissing at Drake. It was more of just like a regular Kendrick Lamar song. And I just want to add some context to this. Kendrick Lamar doesn't release music very often. Like every five, like last album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers took 5 years to make for him. So you know how crazy this hit is, him dropping this many songs in such a short period of time, because he doesn't even make music like that, you know. Um, so yeah, he dropped 616 in L.A. He only put it on his Instagram page, and so clearly it wasn't meant to be like a full on diss track, but that was just kind of reminding Drake that he's still there. So then I believe it was that night, um, we get a diss track from Drake called "Family Matters,"
Wow.
and yeah, he brings up Kendrick's family a little bit,
Oh
kind of
boy.
makes fun of them, which is ridiculous. It was actually a pretty
That's
good
crossing a
diss.
line. You don't do that. Don't bring the family.
Yeah,
Don't bring the family into it. What are you doing there?
but it gets worse. It gets worse, Will.
How
Um,
much worse could it possibly get?
so that the song "Family Matters" by Drake was about like a 6 minute song. You know, it was not
Wow.
only did it have some pretty good disses, it was actually a pretty catchy song. I go back to it still now. Um, so yeah, had some goodness there. And then 30 minutes later, Kendrick Lamar drops "Meet the Grams." And now
Oh God.
the Grams, Meet the Grams. Let's break down that title. Drake's name, his real name, is Aubrey Graham. And Kendrick's song is called "Meet the Grams." So, I think you can tell where this is going. You said that you shouldn't bring up family, but here's Kendrick Lamar putting Drake's family in the title of his song. So let's just say Drake's son, Drake has a son. I got revealed a while back. So Kendrick Lamar starts the song by saying, Drake's son's name is Adonis. So he starts by saying, "Dear Adonis, I'm sorry that man is your father. Let me be honest. It takes a man to be a man. Your dad is not responsive." So he already starts out the song talking to Drake's, 8-year-old son, and telling that he is sorry that this man is his father. "I'm sorry you gotta grow up and then stand behind him. Sometimes our parents make mistakes that affect us until we're grown." Which is wild. And then he says, "Let me be your mentor, 'cause your daddy doesn't teach you anything." Which, that sounds like an Emperor Palpatine type line. I mean, this is Kendrick Lamar. Um, he makes fun of Drake for using medication that he shouldn't be using,
Oh.
and then he let's see here, it gets worse. So then we go to the next verse. So he talks to Adonis on the first verse. Second verse starts with, "Dear Sandra, Drake's mother, your son got bad habits. I hope you don't undermine them." So he goes on to talk about how he's been hurting women, Drake, and abusing women, which is terrible.
And has this been confirmed?
There have been rumors, but it gets even worse. It gets worse. Then he goes on to saying, he also mentions on the second verse, he mentions Drake that has gambling addictions, psychopath intuition, and a man that likes to play victim. And then we have "Dear Dennis, his father, you gave birth to a master manipulator." And then he says, "You should ask him for more money and more money and more money. You raised a horrible person. The nerve of you, Dennis." And then he says, "Sandra, his mother, sit down. What I'm about to say is heavy. Your son is a sick man with sick thoughts. I think people like him should die. He hates black women, hypersexualize them." Yeah, it gets worse. I mean,
This is unlike anything I've ever heard of before. Like, I
Yeah.
don't even know what to properly say to this. This is so severe.
And then he talks about that. So Drake also has a record label called OVO, and he brings up and coming artists. That's just the kind of
Uh-huh.
thing that all these big rappers do. And he says he has sex offenders on the payroll, or who work for him. Basically, is what he's saying, which is crazy. Which is confirmed
That's
true, pretty much. So that's that's bad. Clearly. Um, then he says he calls Drake a predator. Um, let's see. He said that yeah, people should be careful leaving, or his child's mother should be careful leaving Adonis around him. Which this is ridiculous.
this is
Um,
crazy.
then he says he should die so all these women can live with a purpose. So then it goes on. Sorry, I'm taking too long time
Oh,
explaining
you're all
this. It's
good.
just heavy content here.
It's
Then we go into
crazy.
verse 3. Um, Dear baby girl, which so what he did here is revealed that Drake has a daughter who allegedly is 11 years old that he doesn't visit. So he says, which is ridiculous, and Drake's been denying this, but there's no way to actually prove that he's lying, really. So I'm just gonna go with Kendrick for now. I believe him. So he says, "You're a narcissist, misogynist, living inside your songs. You're destroying families. You should be teaching your daughter times tables or watching Frozen with her, or at her 11th birthday, or singing poems with her." And then basically he's saying, instead of doing that, he's doing drugs and other bad things like that. Um, so yeah. Then he goes on and finishes this song with "Dear Aubrey," which is Drake, and he just goes off. He says he talks about his family because originally, if you'll remember, Drake dissed Kendrick Lamar's family. That's the reason this all started.
Oh, I know.
He's
Yeah.
He said, "Why do you have to stoop so low to diss some decent people?" Because Kendrick Lamar is engaged to a nice woman, has a daughter that he takes very good care of, and yes, they are decent people. He doesn't uh, love the spotlight. He doesn't yearn for the spotlight like Drake does. Like I said, he released an album. It took him 5 years to make an album. He doesn't do interviews, really. He doesn't go to basketball games and sit courtside. He doesn't do commercials with Jake from State Farm. He's Kendrick Lamar. He does his own thing. He bounces to the beat. He moves to the beat of his own drum, and he makes his own choices. He doesn't let the industry choose what he does. Talks about more about Drake's gambling and drinking problems and his spending problems. So yeah, it's pretty
That's so much to take in. I mean,
yeah,
oh my
and
goodness.
then the next day Kendrick Lamar drops another diss track, which is more of just like a reaffirming, more like it was a sealing the deal one, just kind of reaffirming what he said on the song "Meet the Grams," and it was actually more of just a catchy song than a full on diss track, and he basically just goes over how he believes that Drake is basically he believes Drake is basically a pedophile, which I mean, some serious allegations there from um, Kendrick Lamar, especially if proven true. Then Drake
I
dropped.
mean, I hope he has evidence of them, but I
Yes,
guess
definitely.
I guess he has strong I guess he has strong proof.
But why would he just say that? Because like I said, Kendrick Lamar doesn't release music. Why would
Right.
he make a song? Because he's the one who technically started the beef on a song like that. He didn't go too deep into it, but
Right.
he wouldn't have started it if he knew he could back it up. You know, and
Right.
he, I just don't think he'd make that up. So he drops another one. He kind of just reaffirms that, and then Drake, the most recent one, um, called "The Heart Part 6" by Drake, and he was just basically trying to deny. I'm on Kendrick Lamar's side. I think for our audience, if you haven't heard it, yeah, definitely give them a listen because not only do they have some really fun disses and some really serious disses, they're also really good songs in general. And this is an iconic moment in the music industry, one of the more iconic moments ever in the music industry. So yeah, and enjoy it while you can because I think this is heading towards its closing, and I think everyone's pretty much agreed upon that Kendrick has taken the win on that front. Have you heard any of the songs, Will?
I haven't, but I will definitely listen to them now. And I just want to say this: those things that Kendrick Lamar put in that song. I mean, like saying stuff to Drake's son, like your father isn't a good man, and saying to Drake's father, like, how did you raise this person? That stuff is so severe.
Yeah.
But
He
just
must hate
trying
him
to,
with a
I'm
passion.
I'm just trying to like just like not taking sides and just looking at it from just the purely analyzing it standpoint. It feels to me because obviously you just mentioned how Drake had put out a song dissing Kendrick Lamar's family 30 minutes prior.
Yeah.
And it feels to me like Kendrick Lamar was saying, if you're going to come after my family,
Yeah.
then I am going to expose you.
Yeah. I I I I just think it's crazy because I mean, it's too you can't really see it here, but on this album, Good Kid, Mad City, they 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 made a song together. I mean, called Poetic Justice on Kendrick Lamar's album. This was like 2012. They made a song together. So they used to be friends. So clearly something happened. Maybe it's Kendrick Lamar found about all these things that Drake does, and obviously is not okay with that. Um, it, it, it it's really serious stuff. I mean, because Kendrick Lamar is definitely. I think he's a good. I mean, I don't know him as a person, obviously, based off what I've seen. He's a good judge of character. He doesn't hang out with rappers who tend to get into drama and stuff like that, where Drake capitalizes on the drama to make money and to get more fame. But Kendrick Lamar doesn't do that. So the fact that he just went to this length to diss Drake, it just shows he must be so upset with Drake right now. But yeah, oh my goodness. For me, though, as a fan of Kendrick Lamar, this has been like Christmas. Because I never thought this would happen. And I'm definitely not a Drake fan. I respect what he does. I think he has a bunch of catchy songs, some of which I listen to, the majority of which I just brush off because I'm not super into it. I can respect that he changes the music industry, but especially if these allegations are proven true, I can't respect him at all, obviously. But they haven't been officially proven true. He hasn't gone to court or anything like that yet. But this sounds similar to the P. Diddy allegations which are going on right now, if you guys have heard about that. So yeah, things could start to develop legally for Drake. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I've actually been impressed with Drake's disses for the most part. I just think Kendrick's so far above him lyrically. There's just nothing he can do. I mean, Drake knows how to make money and sell copies of his albums, but Kendrick knows how to write a song really well. I mean, he's a Pulitzer Prize winner. So, yeah, and he's also Barack Obama's favorite rapper based off an interview that he talked about a while back, which is a very fun fact. So, yeah, I'm sorry I was talking for a while about
It's
this,
all good.
but I just needed to say this.
Of
I was going to.
course.
Because this is just some of the most pressing news in the industry right now, and that's what we do. We cover news about all the topics right now. So before we go on a little break, just want to talk about two movies that I saw in the theater real quick. The Fall Guy and Abigail. You mentioned how you wanted to see The Fall Guy too, Will, and I really liked it. I think you would really enjoy it. But yeah, I think Ryan Gosling was hilarious. I thought Emily Blunt was funny too. Overall, really fun movie. Love the action. I love the story of the two characters. Definitely more of a comedy than anything. Definitely comedy first, which you could find annoying because I know you're not a huge fan of
Right.
comedy in serious situations. But I think it actually works pretty nicely. There are some things that kind of interject comedy in a way that kind of makes more sense. But I'm sure you'll see the movie eventually, so you'll get it then. And the film Abigail, I just saw randomly, kind of. I just thought it looked interesting. I've been meaning to see more horror movies that came out this year, so I decided to see it. And I was impressed by it. It wasn't anything crazy special, but I was still impressed. But yeah, do you think you'll be watching Fall Guy in the theater, Will?
Uh, I could be. I don't know definitively, but my guess is I will see it at some point for sure.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I think it's Ryan Gosling. He's just brilliant. I mean, and especially now, he's talked about this. He's doing less serious roles and focusing more on his comedic chops, as we've seen this, with this and Barbie, and kind of La La Land.
By the
So
way,
yeah,
can we talk about that SNL monologue for a second with
oof, all
Emily
too
Blunt?
well. Uh, Let me just say, All Too Well may or may not be in this movie. That's all I'm
Ooh.
saying.
Oh, I think I may have seen something about that. That's very
Yes.
cool.
So not only did he perform it on SNL, it was in the movie too. So that was very interesting. But yeah, what a great monologue that was. Super hilarious. Their banter was great. But yeah, did you enjoy the monologue, Will?
Loved it. Wouldn't change one thing about it. And when they went into their whole Barbenheimer version of All Too Well, that just took it to the next level to me. And then like when Ryan Gosling is wearing the fur coat and blowing out the Ken candle
Yes.
only for it to come back on. I don't think that could have been any better. I give that a 10 out of 10.
Same here. Yeah, it was super entertaining. Okay, so now we have some more news about something else that we talk quite frequently on the podcast about, and a character who we all love, and part of a franchise which one of the people who occasionally shows up on the podcast refuses to acknowledge. That's Creed 3. I think it's a perfectly decent movie. I think it's a good movie, but no, whatever his name is doesn't like to acknowledge its existence.
And I would like to again share to everybody that that person, until he, I guess, either apologizes or acknowledges some of the stuff that he's done wrong, that person will not be back on this podcast
So yeah,
until he does those
yeah.
things.
Let's just say we have some beef with him, almost like Kendrick Lamar and Drake. It's
Yes,
Cam and Will, and whatever. His name.
and this
I can't just keep
unknown.
forgetting his
Yeah,
name.
and yes.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, this is Rocky. We're talking about Rocky here, and Will, is
Yes.
this a documentary or is this a biopic?
This is a biopic. This is a biopic.
Whoa, that is interesting. That is unexpected. Wow. I am stunned because I didn't even know this news, and I kind of wanted to have this dialogue on the podcast. So this is my live reaction to this news. So I'm stunned. I was not expecting that to be the case at all. Um, wow. So it'll be about the making of the first Rocky movie, right?
Yeah, it'll be about the making of the first Rocky movie. And let me actually, I can actually read a little bit about this to our
Please,
audience
please.
here because this is relatively new news, and I'm sure not everybody hears about it yet. But um, Green Green Book, by the way, very good film. Green Book director Peter Farrelly will take audiences behind the scenes on the unlikely and tumultuous production of Rocky, the boxing drama that catapulted Sylvester Stallone into stardom. I Play Rocky, the upcoming film, will follow Stallone long before his action hero days. Here, he's a struggling actor whose partially paralyzed face and a speech impediment hasn't left him in demand by Hollywood. But betting on his talent, Stallone writes a hot script that a big movie studio wants to buy. However, he refuses to sell it unless he gets to play the lead. Turning down an offer of life-changing money, he instead works for a pittance in order to get the movie made with himself as the title character. The result is the biggest box office hit of 1976, as well as an Academy Award juggernaut that went on to win Best Picture. And let's see, what else they say here. And yes, that is. It looks like I believe they have a yeah. There will be a worldwide search to discover another actor who needs one shot, just like Rocky, to show the world what he can do. And also here at the end, I guess one of the people behind this, it says, and like the hero of our film, Baja Productions needed grit and determination as we fought for years to make this project into a reality. So
Okay.
apparently, this has been apparently the people behind this have been wanting to make it for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it'll be kind of about I guess from how I understand that the making of Rocky One and kind of Sylvester Stallone's journey to getting Rocky One made and in a bit of kind of his own real life
Okay.
real life underdog story. But my personal take, Cam. By the way, I would like to say that there was a Sylvester Stallone documentary called
Oh,
Sly that
Sly
came
on
out on
Netflix. Yep.
Netflix last year, which I thought was really good, and that dives into Sylvester Stallone's life story right there. So this is my take. Look, if they do it well, then I got nothing to say, and I bow
Yep.
down. But I think we might have talked about this with the Springsteen
Yeah,
bio.
that's what I was thinking. It's kind of similar to that.
You know, I know Bruce Springsteen so well that it may be hard to see Jeremy Allen White play him,
Hmm.
and I know Sylvester Stallone so well that I think it could be hard to see somebody else
And they're both still
playing,
alive.
yeah,
That's the thing.
playing Sylvester Stallone. So if this is done well, then I'll give them credit.
Yeah.
But I just think considering the fact that there's already a Sylvester Stallone documentary that goes into all of this stuff, I'm just kind of like, is it
Yeah.
like, and as you're saying, Stallone's still alive, so I'm just kind of like, is this really necessary right now? And also, so apparently this is going to be called I Play Rocky. Tell me what you think, but that feels a little bit cheesy to me. Like
Uh,
that doesn't like roll off the tongue very well for me at least.
I wouldn't say that is my issue. I think it's an okay title. I just think, especially because going into this, I didn't know if it was a documentary or biopic. It sounds like a documentary title. So people who don't know much about this will probably think it's a documentary and not see it because not a lot of people watch documentaries in the theater. Um, so, I mean, probably when trailers come out, it'll be a different story. But as of now, I think they could have definitely workshopped a better title there. And do you know if Sly is involved in production? Is he like an executive producer?
I have not seen Sylvester Stallone in the Variety
Oh
article
boy.
that I read on this. Sylvester Stallone's involvement was not talked about once,
Yeah.
and Variety, they're one of the major news and entertainment websites out there. So if anybody would know stuff about Stallone's involvement in the project, it would be them. Now, I will say that I didn't know initially about like Bruce Springsteen's involvement in his new movie, but then news came out saying that he would be very much involved in it. So I'm totally open to that there may be news in the future about Sly's involvement in it, but for now, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I'm looking at IMDb now. Nothing from Sly here, and
Allow me to say, Sly better be involved in this.
yeah,
If I ever hear that Sylvester Stallone is not involved in this, I am going to be pissed off.
Well,
And I
here's the
mean,
thing.
like, really pissed off.
I think because he's been vocal about this stuff in the past, so if he doesn't like the project, because he's definitely gonna probably know what's going on with it at least. He'll tell us. He'll tell us. I wasn't a fan of this. I don't think it's good. But if it is good, he's gonna say, "Yeah, I'm a fan of what they're doing. I think it's good." So I think we'll get something from him. Because in the past with the whole Winkler Rocky stuff, he's been vocal about that. So I think we'll get him talking about that. But one thing that has me concerned here is the writer. The writer is Peter Gamble. I'm sure no one's ever heard that name because he's barely a writer. He wrote a short film that got good reviews, 8 minutes long, but that was in 2006. He has 3 writing credits on IMDb, which is not what you want when you're dealing with an icon, you know. Then we have 10 episodes of a show called Trenches, good reviews, and then a TV movie basically called Office Uprising, which got terrible reviews, and he wrote that. And that's it. Those are his only movies and shows. So, yeah, not really what you want for a movie as important as this. But Peter Farrelly is a good, definitely great director. I've heard really good things about Green Book. And you said you watched that, right?
Yes, very
Okay,
good
so
film.
you can
Very good.
confirm. You can confirm that. So I don't know. As time goes on, we'll get more information about this movie. And before we move on to our next topic, which is the NBA playoffs, we mentioned Bruce Springsteen here a little bit, and I actually have an extremely hot take that I've been meaning to share for a while.
Okay.
I shared this with my parents, and they disagreed strongly.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm excited to hear this, though.
so this hot take, do you know who Zach Bryan is?
Oh, yeah, I know the name. Yeah, or yes, I do.
Yes, Zach Bryan. He's made songs like "Hey Driver." He had a really good album, self-titled album,
Yeah,
last year.
And Bruce just flew to the East Coast to be a
Play
guest at
with
his show,
him,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
And after seeing him play with him, and I've been getting into Zach Bryan. I'm not a huge country guy, but I've been getting into his music because it's not really country. It's rock. It's folk a little bit, and there's definitely some country. There's some pop. Well, not really pop. But my hot take is, after seeing them perform together, and after going even deeper into Zach Bryan's music, and me obviously being a huge fan of Springsteen, the hot take is Zach Bryan is the modern day Bruce Springsteen.
What specifically makes you think that?
I think the songwriting, the point of views in the songwriting, grew up, working a hard life, hard time, the struggle a little bit, talk about his life, how he got out here, his experiences, the writing style, the whole vibe of the music, and I think, obviously, Zach Bryan leans more towards the country aesthetic, which isn't exactly what Bruce does, but writing-wise, extremely similar. And the rock songs, there's a certain amount of rockiness, if you will, in Zach Bryan's music, which I think is very similar to Bruce. Like Nebraska, I think has a lot of similarities with Zach Bryan. I think there are a lot of comparisons you could make, and yeah, that's just a hot take out of my mind. Um, I don't know if a lot of people would agree, but yeah, as of now, that's the hot take right here. You heard it here first on the Everything Podcast, folks. Um, how do you feel about that take, Will?
Yeah, I would need to listen to Zach Bryan's music before I could officially comment on that. But I will say this, maybe, I could see Bruce because, by the way, folks, I just want to put this into context. So, if I remember correctly, Bruce Springsteen was playing in San Diego, California. Flies to the East Coast to be a guest at Zach Bryan's show, then flies back to the West Coast for 2 San Francisco
Yeah.
shows, the second of which I was at. Maybe Bruce Springsteen was willing to fly all the way across the country to be a guest at Zach Bryan's show because he saw some of those similarities that you were talking about. So I'm not totally putting it past Bruce that the reason he may have done that for Zach Bryan would be because he saw those similarities that you were talking about.
Yeah. And Zach Bryan's actually coming here. He's gonna play at Gillette. Looked at tickets a while back, a few months back. Oh my goodness, the tickets are so expensive.
Well, so
Yeah,
many things are crazy expensive these days. It's amazing how much
actually,
it's amazing how much things cost
it
now.
actually looks like the resale has kind of gone down a little bit, but it's still ridiculously expensive. Like $300 for 2 tickets. That's quite a bit of money, and they're not even that good of seats, you know. And Gillette, big outdoor stadiums don't
Big
always have like
stadium, yeah.
the best sound, like you mentioned with Bruce. Although you saw him at an indoor venue, right?
I did.
But that can
Yes.
happen at big venues anyway, like that. So I just don't think that experience would be worth it. But based off what I've seen, he's a great performer, and I'm really excited to get even more deep into his discography because he seems to be the next Bruce Springsteen. You know, that's the take. So yeah, if you get a chance to listen to Zach Bryan, let me know what you think about that take. And now we're gonna close it off with a bit of NBA Finals talk, and boy, am I happy! Jason Tatum didn't even do that good last night, and we still won by like what 20 something. So yeah, I'm happy right now. Will, I understand if you're disappointed if you're that your Warriors aren't in this, but you have to admit these playoffs have been. I mean, you're a secondary Boston fan. You can admit that, right? Yeah, that's like your B team, right?
Yes, although I will say it has been harder to cheer for them since that NBA Finals matchup. I think when you play
Fair,
against a
yeah.
team in a postseason series and you want to beat them really badly in that series, that can alter things. So I got a lot of respect for the Celtics organization, and I think they have a great team culture and so many other things that I
Yeah,
have
especially with
admired about
Brad
the
winning
Warriors.
NBA executive.
For sure, and totally well deserved. So, like all of the things that I respect about the Warriors organization, I think the Celtics completely have all those things in place too. I think they're a high character, unselfish basketball team. Although it has been harder to root for them since the 2022 finals. I will say that, but I think they are a first class organization for sure.
Yeah. It's just been super fun to watch. And also, on the Heat series, thank goodness Jimmy Butler was hurt, or else I actually have a strong feeling it could have gone a lot different for the Celtics. Um, because Jimmy
Well, the Heat
Buckets,
just always find a way to be around
yeah, they do.
this time of year.
And
That's just who they are. They
with
even I mean they found a way to win game 2 without him. That's just what they do. That's who the
Yeah,
Heat
I
are.
mean, imagine if they had Jimmy Buckets in the playoffs. That would be ridiculous. But overall, yeah, I've had a lot of fun with the playoffs, and I actually want to get your take on this. Do we think LeBron James will retire this year, or Bronny will get drafted, he'll go to Bronny's team and retire after that? Do we think that'll happen? What do we think? Because he made
Oh,
that
I don't
statement a while back.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I don't think he's retiring at all. I think there would have been a lot more talk and chatter
Yeah.
and rumors about that if that was the case. So no, I do not think that LeBron James is retiring. I think he will still play. Whether it's on the Lakers or not remains to be seen because I don't think the Los Angeles Lakers are winning a title anytime soon. I can tell you that much. But will LeBron James retire? I don't think so because this is a guy, Cam, who this season went to his 20th straight All Star game.
Yeah,
The guy is unbelievable.
he really is. Um, do you think? Yeah. So do you think he'll try to play with Bronny? Do you think
Oh,
that'll?
I think 100%.
All
I
right.
mean, I think
So
that's been a goal of his. I don't see why that would still be a goal of his. And if I were in his position, that's exactly what I would
yeah,
want to
for
do. So
sure.
yeah, I think he'll totally try to
So
play with him. Yeah.
this kind of changes the theme of the NBA draft because whoever as you know, I mean, Bronny's not great. I mean, he averaged 6 points in college. Who knows? He could pop off and go crazy in the NBA, but probably not. Respectfully, um, but if you draft Bronny James, whatever team drafts Bronny James, will get LeBron for a season, probably. So that is a whole that brings a whole new layer to the NBA draft. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yep, that'll be fascinating to follow for sure. But getting back to these NBA playoffs, man, there are so many different things that I could talk about. But for today's conversation, I'm going to focus in on the two teams I think are going to the NBA Finals. One is the Minnesota Timberwolves, and one is your team, the Boston Celtics. Um, Nothing against the Cavaliers, Pacers, or Knicks, but none of them, I don't believe any of them, are on the Celtics level. The Celtics, with the exception of game 2 against the Heat, I've seen nothing but domination from them. I mean, they're not just winning these games by a little bit, they are blowing these teams out.
Yeah.
I am sensing dominant play from the Celtics right now. So I think they're going to the NBA Finals from the Eastern Conference, and I think the Timberwolves are going to the NBA Finals from the Western Conference because, lo and behold, the reigning NBA champion Denver Nuggets. I know Jamal Murray's dealing with an injury, but the reigning defending NBA champion Denver Nuggets, with the great Nikola Jokic, widely considered by many people to be the best player in the NBA, are now down 0-2.
Yeah.
And they got blown out in game 2. But I am going with a Celtics Timberwolves NBA Finals.
That'd be entertaining.
But you know what, Cam? As much as I respect Jason Tatum, if I had to pick a team to win first of all, a Timberwolves Celtics Finals, I think that's going 7. Like, without question, I think that's a 7-game series. But if I had to pick the team to win, I might lead toward the Timberwolves for this reason. Anthony Edwards is dominating right now. People are literally comparing him to Michael
I've seen
Jordan.
that, yeah.
They are saying he's Jordan-esque. That's just not thrown out there. Now, Jason Tatum may be playing a style of basketball where he's not trying to score as many points as Anthony Edwards because he wants to get Jaylen Brown his points, and Derek White has been really coming on lately.
Yeah.
So Tatum may be playing a different style of basketball than Anthony Edwards. But with Anthony Edwards...
That could change in the finals, though.
For sure. But Anthony Edwards, when I watch him, not only do I sense dominance on the court, I've gotten a chance to watch a couple of his interviews. That guy has attitude. He ain't afraid of nobody. So, as much respect as I have for the Boston Celtics, I do think there's the question of, can they get over the hump? Because there are certain teams, like, let's take a look at the NFL, for instance. The San Francisco 49ers are a great team. Haven't been able to win a Super Bowl yet, when people have been talking about them like that for quite some time.
Yeah.
So I do feel that... Now, I think this is the best team of the Tatum Brown era. Let me say that. I think this is the Celtics' best chance to win the title in the Tatum Brown era, and I think they're going to the finals this season. But I do think there's a question of, can they get over the hump? And ultimately, if I have to pick an NBA Finals winner, I'm going to go the Timberwolves in 7 over the Celtics, because I sense Anthony Edwards playing at a level that only the specialist of players play at. So Anthony Edwards has just been off the charts to me this NBA postseason.
Yeah, and like you said about Tatum, yeah, he's been playing more reserved when it comes to scoring, but that, I think, could definitely change in the finals. Sure. But still, how much of a difference that would make is, we'll see. And how nasty Anthony Edwards ends up being, we'll have to see. And first things first, the Celtics and the Timberwolves have to make it to the finals.
They do.
So, yeah, I'll be excited to track that. And that prediction is, I think, probably going to end up being spot on. I don't want to predict who's going to win yet, because I want to see if we have any injury updates on both sides.
Sure.
And we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just getting super excited for these NBA finals, and super happy with how my team, the Celtics, are performing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that about wraps up this episode of the Everything Podcast. Just want to remind you guys we'll have Everything Week in about like a month and a half. Oh man, how does it feel? Month and a half. That's so
So
close.
excited. So
Yes,
excited. Let's
yes.
go. Yeah.
Excitement's off the
So
charts.
excited.
So yeah, well technically it won't be a full week. It'll be pretty much. It'll be 5 days. So a working week of content. Podcasts, just talking videos. It'll be a whole bunch of things. So yeah, I'm super excited to do this, and I think you guys are gonna really enjoy this. The Flo Franco interview should be happening any pretty soon, I guess. Just need confirmation from him. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the Everything Podcast. Um, I've been thinking about maybe dropping a video about the whole Drake and Kendrick Lamar thing right now. So maybe expect that. We'll see. Especially if they drop something else, then yeah, there's probably definitely going to be a video from that about that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Everything Podcast. Will, thank you for joining me as always, and I'll see you guys next time.